Welcome to Movie World. I am Andy Signor. With George Clooney out there promoting his new Netflix film, The Midnight Sky, he went to Howard Stern, who asked him some questions about Batman and Robin. Apparently, the film is so bad it physically hurts him to watch it. And this got me thinking. Did you guys know that there actually was a sequel to Batman and Robin that almost happened, starring George Clooney and Chris O'Donnell? I'm going to break down what that almost was. Before we get there, though, I want to actually follow up and show you what George Clooney's comments were about this film. Because, look, when Batman and Robin came out, it was supposed to be a big hit. It was supposed to be such a big hit that they were already planning a sequel. Joel Schumacher was going to work on a third Batman film to sort of wrap out his trilogy, and he wanted it to be a bit more serious, which was always his intent for Batman and Forever. So Batman and Robin ended up not doing so well. Well, here's why. So George Clooney does reveal some of this. He also revealed he got paid $1 million salary on it, even though Arnold Schwarzenegger got paid $25 million for Mr. Freeze. But he says, look, I couldn't have done that one differently. He says, when Stern asks about production regrets, it's a big machine, that thing. You have to remember, at that point, I was just an actor getting an acting job. I wasn't the guy that could greenlight a movie. He took over the role from Val Kilmer. He also noted that Schwarzenegger and him didn't work together at all in production, even though it appears they share screen time. We never even saw each other, Clooney said. It's a big monster machine, and I just sort of jumped in and did what they say. Clooney admitted pretty much everyone involved was to blame for the massive dud. The truth of it, the matter is, I was bad in it. Akiva Goldsmith, who's won an Oscar for writing since then, he wrote the screenplay, and he has said it's a terrible screenplay. He'll tell you that. I'm terrible in it. I'll tell you, Joel Schumacher just passed away, directed it, and he'd say, yeah, it didn't work. We all whiffed on that one. So what happened? Why that movie, clearly became sort of a stupid studio commercial ploy, but what happened to its sequel that was on deck to feature the star's return? Well, guys, it was going to be called Batman Unchained. There's also a working title online. If you go search this, it's called, a lot of people were calling it Batman Triumphant. But upon my research, no, the film would have been called Batman Unchained. It would have been a sequel to Batman Forever. Batman and Robin, and it would have continued in sort of the Batman Forever, Batman Robin timeline. But it also would have tied in Tim Burton's world, interestingly enough, which they're going to try to sort of tie everything together in the upcoming Flashpoint film. They were originally going to try and do it even back then. So let's break down what this film would have been. So look, they would have brought back Clooney and O'Donnell, as I told you, but it's still unclear whether they would have brought back Alicia Silverstone as Batgirl. She was just weird. She was so popular back then with Clueless and everything that sort of she was the it girl, but the character itself, I don't know why she was there, what they were doing with it. They just didn't crack that very well. It was sort of like, here I am in my armor. Anyway, she was not in the screenplay. There was a screenplay, and it was just the return of them, and that's what the movie was going to revolve around. Now, the film was written by Mark Protosevich. It was going to be directed by Schumacher, and the villains in the film would have been apparently Harley Quinn and Scarecrow. And apparently in early versions, there's been rumors that it was going to be Madonna as Harley Quinn. I can't verify that. There's a different cast member that was on deck originally. So Schumacher says it was going to be very dark, says Schumacher. And I remember going to the set of Face Off and asking Nicolas Cage if he would play Scarecrow. Now let's pause for a second, because that I'm on board for. Nicolas Cage as Scarecrow would have been actually inspired casting. That would and fitting with all the other people we've gotten in sort of the Burton and even Schumacher villains, getting a big name to sort of do a big role, or maybe something a little darker. I'm all about what a 90s version of Nicolas Cage doing Scarecrow would have been sick. And so apparently he asked, and Nicolas Cage was considering. The script was dealt with Batman learning to conquer fear, reading my notes here, sorry. It was Batman learning to conquer fear and to confront the demons of his past. And so as a Hollywood Reporter sort of broke down the script in a piece they did, here's sort of what they sort of lined out. The two villains each hated a different aspect of Batman. The brilliant and satanic Professor Jonathan Crane, Scarecrow, had a personal vendetta against Batman, Bruce Wayne, while Harley Quinn despised Batman's alter ego. Harley, a toy maker who Prosthetic describes as sadistic and mischievous fun sense, learns that her true father was the Joker. So it would have been the same sort of, they would change it up. It would have been the Joker's daughter. This sets her on a path of vengeance against Batman for taking him away in the 1989 film. Eventually, Crane learns Batman's secret identity and teams up with Harley to drive him insane and have him sent to Arkham Asylum, which is ironic because that was apparently a theme that was going to happen with Ben Affleck's solo Batman film, The Batman, that he was working on before Matt Reeves took over, which Joe Magnolelli, who played Deathstroke, was sort of revealed. So the script culminates with an ambitious all-star sequence that would have seen an hallucinating Batman via Scarecrow face the demons of his past. Now, this is where things would have gotten really interesting. They would have, the other thing was they were going to add Courtney Love, was who the standout character of the film would have been Harley Quinn, who in the end finds redemption for her villainous ways. She was to be complex, conflicted, and ultimately a good person underneath. While the casting process never got off the ground, Protosevich's agents at CA set him up with lunch with Courtney Love, who was also repped and was interested in getting into an acting career. So she, who knows? I think she had heard about the possibility of Harley Quinn being in the new Batman and was thinking of she might be a good fit for it, but we didn't really talk about that. We talked about a lot of other things. It was certainly one of the better lunches I've ever had in my career in show business. So Courtney Love was considered, not locked by any stretch of the imagination. Nicolas Cage, though, also in talks. Now, here, back to that sort of sequence. So the script cultivates this ambitious all-star sequence that would have seen a hallucinating Batman face the demons of his past. What does that mean? You're looking at it, guys. It would have featured Danny DeVito as the Penguin, Michelle Pfeiffer back as Catwoman, Tommy Lee Jones as Two-Face, and Jim Carrey returning as the Riddler. Now notice, no sign of Uma Thurman's Poison Ivy or Bane or Arnold Schwarzenegger's Mr. Freeze. It would have been the main four, which I think those are the four we probably would have wanted to see the most. And that would have all led up to a final confrontation with the man himself, Jack Nicholson's Joker. Now, I've read it before that they were already beginning talks on this, trying to get him on board, which might have, not unclear how far along those talks went, but this would have featured the return of Jack Nicholson's Joker in a smart sort of cameo one-on-one fight with Batman sort of being able to see him face his demons. Now, I got to be honest, this would have been a fun capper to that silly phase of Batman. This would have been a nice bookend, and it's frustrating to hear that this was all on deck and then it didn't happen. So what happened? Let's break this down. So Joel wanted to tie up all the films of the past, including Tim Burton's, building up to this moment, says the screenwriter. During the movie, a rift forms between Batman and Robin, who comes back during the final battle to help his mentor. After defeating his demons, Bruce travels to Bali, where Protosevich Red and real-life monks enter a cave full of bats to show that they have conquered fear. In the script, Bruce enters the cave as bats swarm around him. And as he remarks, there was apparently, there's a similar image to that in Batman Begins, where he discovers what the bat cave, and it's filled with bats and they're flying around him. Not that this scene was inspired by mine, but it was a similar idea. It was a powerful image. So he's saying him and Nolan had sort of a good idea to sort of show that. And so apparently this was all on deck and this was going to happen. And then Batman and Robin happened. Batman and Robin happened, and Batman and Robin bombed. Batman and Robin didn't do very well, and so the film apparently paused. He was in talks with Joel Schumacher after the film, who said, let me see the script, which had only been sort of a tight first draft, but nowhere near complete yet. And so he gave it, and then Joel Schumacher says, this is the most expensive... sorry. A few days later, I'm getting a call from Joel, whose main comment was that I'd written maybe the most expensive movie ever made. Then I remember I never heard back from the executive of Warner Brothers. I called many times, never got any kind of response. This got to a period of weeks and then a month, and my agent pestering Warner's, and then the next thing I knew, they were pulling the plug on the whole project. They were going to wait and see what they were going to do with the Batman. The Joel Schumacher-driven Batman train was taken off the rails. So that's what happened. Batman and Robin is what killed the film. Not surprised. Not surprised, but that's what happened. So final thoughts here. Look, I would have liked this. The question is, would George Clooney ever come back to do a Batman? There have been talks that he would show up in the Flash movie. And he gave this response. Cinnamon Blend pulled this quote from Empire. It's funny. You'll notice they didn't call me. Somehow I didn't get that call. They did not ask for my nipples. Listen, there are certain things you never know. This one I know. So, look, is he playing coy? Could he be showing up in that big Flash movie? I'm told there's opportunities for multiple Batmen to appear. Maybe he could, but he's putting out there no. And I think of all the ones, he's probably just like, no. I'm sure everyone's like, we don't need him. I know they were trying to get Bale. There was talk about getting Kilmer. Although Kilmer's not in the best physical shape given all the treatments he's going through. Wish him the best. I hope he gets through that. But that's what we know about this film, and we know Clooney's likely not coming back. Now, would this have been worthy? Would this have been something good? I mean, at that point, Clooney, I think, was signed and would have done it. It would have been nice to see if Clooney could have had an opportunity to better it, for sure. I never hated Chris O'Donnell as Robin. His script was so bad. It became a just silly kids movie. But the idea of them together doing one last finale, I think without Alicia Silverstone would have been wiser. This idea of Batman Unchained and the villains at the end, I mean, that's cool. Bringing back Jack Nicholson as a bookend to it all, giving Clooney another opportunity to really find his way and doing sort of the darker approach that Schumacher originally envisioned for Batman Forever. And this one, I got to say, I would have enjoyed this. It probably still would have been terrible, and I'm glad we got Batman Begins and the Nolan trilogy. Obviously, if this would have been instead of, then obviously I wouldn't want to change anything. But if we could have gotten this in addition to the Nolan revamp, I would happily have said, yeah, let's see what that would have been. It would have been really nice to see Schumacher get the chance to finally make a more serious Batman. And I like the idea of him trying to wrap it all up, which is what's so common right now. And all the Spider-Man's work, Spider-Man 3 is going to bring all the movies together. Flashpoint's bringing all the movies together. Doctor Strange 2 is going to bring a lot of alternate casts together. To think that Schumacher was back in the early, mid 90s, trying to make that happen first is quite impressive. So good on him. I'm sad this never got to see the light of day. What do you think? Would you have liked Batman Unchained? I'm curious your thoughts. You can also check out Popcorn Planet for more coverage. I just did a video about George Clooney not liking Tom Cruise's on-set ramp. Trying to connect these videos back and forth. You're going to hopefully see some more movie coverage only, deeper cuts, more in-depth movie stuff here on Movie World. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you haven't already subbed, hit that subscribe button right there on screen. Hit the all alerts. Hit to all. Trying to get our watch time growing on this channel so we can deliver you more movie-only content here on Movie World. Thanks so much for watching. Again, hit that subscribe button or check out these other Movie World videos. Lots more coming here on the channel.